There's so many. Every country's different. You can't say it's this or that. But for me, the biggest challenge is simply getting access to the elephants. Mm-hmm. Because my only intention is to help the elephant. Mm-hmm. It's not my fight to say remove the elephant from the temple in Sri Lanka or India. Mm-hmm. It's a whole nother, because that's me criticizing religion now. Now we got a whole nother obstacle to come across. Sure. Has nothing to do with that. Yeah. It's going to a camp somewhere in Thailand, or going to a camp in India, or going to a camp in Vietnam, and just wanting to help.
Yo, hey, what we gon' slap today? Yo, hey, what we gon' slap today?
The world may not need another podcast, but it can definitely use a slap. Welcome to Slap to Power, the show that lifts artists who use their powers for positive progress. I am Rick Barrio-Dill.
And I'm Asia Nakia. On the show today, we touch base on Pause for Progress with our recent adoption event and newest rescue, Ted, who was spared just 7 minutes before his euthanasia date. Yes.
7 minutes.
And then we're also going to talk about our heroic anti-whaling activist, Paul Watson, who was just released from jail in Greenland.
That's right. And, of course, we have to talk about Steve Bannon as he, of course, floats Donald Trump running for president in 2028. Of course.
And can New York City's traffic cameras also be used for personal selfie studios?
This story is incredible. And our amazing interview is with zoologist and friend to the elephants, Stephen Koyle, discussing his life-saving work with the Elephant Care Unchained Foundation around the globe.
Yes. And then we're going to talk about musicians buying seats for cellos on planes. I mean, have you ever had to buy a seat for an instrument?
I got a couple of stories
about
instruments on a plane.
When we get to that, I want to hear some more about that.
That's right. And last but not least, our resident Gen Zer, Asher, is here again for another segment of Make This Ish Make Sense.
But first, we are going to talk about Pause for Progress. We had a very nice adoption event this past week. Great turnout. We didn't have any adoptions, which we don't usually expect like a full-on adoption from an adoption event, even though that would sound like that's what it's for.
Right.
But we got a lot of interest, and our sweet little Addie, our little girl with the cherry eyes, she just got a new foster. Yeah. So, overall super success, getting our names out there, getting the doggies out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. And then we did take on a new rescue this week. His name is Ted. And
great
Ted,
name for a dog, let's be honest.
I love names like that for dogs.
Same.
Yeah.
Come on.
So little Ted was facing his final hour, and I actually got contacted at 3:17, and his euthanasia date and time was 3:30 p.m. And I was like on the fence. I mean, I was emailing, we were calling, we were really trying. Like a last minute foster came in. Everyone was pledging for this dog to be rescued, and then we weren't hearing back, and it was like 3:23. We're like down to the wire, looking every minute by minute. Finally, they responded at like 3:27. Then they were like, "Oh, can you be here by 3:30 to pick him up?" And we're like, "No, no, please extend this."
But we did save the dog's life by 3 minutes.
So, oh my God, yeah, we were just
7 minutes.
Going
minutes.
A little bit back and forth with the shelters, but I mean, his life is just so different now. I'm seeing his photo in his kennel to now. Mm-hmm. Like we have this really cute photo which we'll post. With his little reindeer ears, and he's just enjoying his life. And it's like within 7 minutes, such a different story for this kid.
Yes, Ted.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you hear about Paul Watson and Sea Shepherd's biggest notorious whale activist? He just got out of jail.
Wait, what?
So I have known about Sea Shepherd since, I don't know, I was 5 years old. I've always been obsessed with them. They are combating whale killings all over the world. They work especially in Japan and Antarctica, and they are against, they're anti-whaling nonprofit organization doing absolutely amazing work. I have had the honor and privilege of actually doing some work with them in the past. We did a whole stint in Bahamas for Hurricane Dorian where we brought back on the Sea Shepherd vessel, this huge, massive research vessel that they have. Yeah. We brought back dogs and cats from the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian, and it was the coolest experience ever. Everybody, all the what do you call people that work on the
On
crew?
the boats? The
Yeah,
crew?
but yeah, I mean, so he was actually arrested on some old charges back from 2012 by the Japanese government for causing injury to one of their workers and damage to one of their boats.
So not for whaling.
Not for whaling, no, but he's fighting against the whalers.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So
sure.
Sea Shepherd is like out there in the middle of the ocean, literally trying to track down boats and end.
I should say
whaling.
that again. Not for his vigilante work as an anti-whaler.
Well, yes, but Japan is mad because he's interrupting their whaling.
So they find him guilty for something else?
So they find him guilty, and he was in jail for 5 months, which was just crazy. We couldn't believe it. And then he was supposed to be extradited to Japan for a 15-year sentence. So this was like big news in the animal rescue community. We were all like freaking out. We all are huge fans of Paul.
Yeah.
Very like amazing human being. But yeah, so he got released, which has been like such great news. And now the anti-whaling continues.
Look at that.
Yeah.
2 stories off the top that are good, nice, positive palate cleansers. Come on.
Yes.
That's great. That's really great. Well, I'm going to end that right now. I'm going to stop the good news.
All right. Let me take a sip. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
The 22nd Amendment of our Constitution clearly states that no person shall be elected to office of the president more than twice. Now, who here, in a show of hands, who here thinks that the president-elect is going to obey that 4 years from now? Yeah.
The room is
Yeah,
silent,
the room is
everyone.
silent.
There are no hands in the air for those of us who
I
are
know.
just
Now-
listening.
The funny thing is like I was like, oh, how long is it going to take once he gets elected before they start floating it and softening the ground so that the people start having this discussion and stuff like that? And he's not even in office yet. And of course, his goon Steve Bannon put out the suggestion, of course, and it came from him. And then they're going to test the feasibility and legality of such a move. While some view this as a strategic play to keep Trump's political influence alive, others see it as a direct challenge to constitutional norms. So, yeah, you don't think?
Yeah.
But as the whole landscape kind of continues to evolve, this definitely adds an interesting thing because he's just going to push on this open door, and
Absolutely.
how are we going to react to it? We're going to have to see. But it didn't take long.
No.
And it's in the sphere of discussion. So
And where does the line get drawn? Like I'm waiting to see
Oh, no,
where
no.
where the line is.
No.
Is there? There's no line.
It's gone.
It's an
gone.
imaginary
it's a
line
wrap.
now.
That's a
What
wrap.
are amendments?
There was
and
a
laws?
line, and
I
he
don't know
he was in the
anymore.
union. Okay, there was a line, and he was a union worker. Okay, and he got let go, and so now he's at home on that sweet gummet cheese, right? And meanwhile, there's somebody's about to be plowing over with no lines out there for so it's gonna be good times. It's gonna be fun times coming up.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, in for the sheer sake of chaos, we'll go into talking about this artist, Maury Coleman, who did a traffic cam photo booth project, which gave surveillance a very cheeky twist. So this is a really interesting story. I want to hear your take on this.
All right, lay it on me. I saw it in the breakdown, and I was like, I have thoughts.
I mean, it's just one of those things. We're in I just go straight to like this selfie world that we're in, and then I also go into AI, and then I also go into like surveillance rights and the combination of all of those things, and how this artist is using the traffic cams,
booth as a source for his art, and then he got sent. So for those who don't know, he's an artist in New York, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and he basically has been using the street cam as kind of, hey, let me have fun with this on the selfie cam, and the city was like, yeah, nah, and they sent him a cease and desist order, which he wasn't really hurting anything, but New York, I don't know, whatever. And so what he did is he took the cease and desist letter and put it on a 15-foot pole, 25-foot pole, and held it in front. Held it in front of the traffic cam, which I got to give him.
It's
props.
bold.
Props.
It's bold.
Respect.
And then I think his art made it
back.
into like a Miami art show. Like he brought the art to Miami for an art show or something because.
So I think what he was collecting images on what he was doing on the selfie show before they gave him the cease and desist letter. So he was turning it into art, and that's really cool.
It is.
I like it. I want to see what he's gonna if he's just gonna let's see where this standoff goes.
I'm curious.
You heard it
I
here
mean,
first, and we're going to keep you posted.
This is literally like, for me, this is when people ask, like, what is the definition of modern art?
Hey.
This would be, I would put that right there.
Yes,
This is the definition of modern art. So
yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. All right. I am so excited. Coming up after the break, we're going to have our interview here in studio with the Elephant Care Unchained, Stephen Koyle.
Yes.
Gambling is part of the culture of America, since even before we were America. I'm Norman Chad. I know gambling. I've played blackjack and poker. I've bet sports and horse races. I've even hit the slot machines at a Pahrump, Nevada 7-Eleven. You say gambling, I say gambling mad. So join me on Gambling Mad with Norman Chad, wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on socials at Gambling Mad Show or at Gambling Mad Norman Chad at YouTube.
Joining us in studio today, we are honored to have Steve Koyle from the Elephant Care Unchained. They're dedicated to eliminating cruelty and improving elephant welfare in their native countries. Welcome to Slap the Power, Steve. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's funny because we were, right before we started recording, you said, I'll talk about elephants forever. And what's great is they're magical in a way that I feel warrants that kind of a comment. And we have a lot of friends that have hipped me to just the tip of the iceberg on how dope elephants are. So in addition to your work helping the elephants, please set up what set your love for elephants into motion.
Well, I spent, right now it'll be 23 years working for elephants, is what
Wow.
I say. I spent, I got my career with elephants at the Phoenix Zoo in Arizona. Never really wanted to work in a zoo, but I knew I wanted to work with animals, and doing, I was living here in California training dogs for 2 years prior to taking that job in Phoenix. Anyway, I've always said that elephants are incredibly soulful. And either you are an elephant person or you're not an elephant person. In my experience, when talking to zookeepers, somebody, I'm so scared of elephants because they're so big and scary, and they do hurt people, they do kill people, right? So they are, but when you spend time with them and you see them and they know exactly what's going on, but they look nothing like us, but they know they're incredibly sophisticated, incredibly intelligent, just the greatest thing on the planet. And so over these past 23 years, I've dedicated my life trying to do everything I can to help them in any way that I can.
How did you get into, like, more specifically, eliminating cruelty and specifically welfare? Because it's one thing to be on the zoo side, I would imagine, right, where that's maintenance. And
Yep.
what sort of drew you to this incredible work?
Well, I was at the zoo for 14 and a half years total, but after 10 years, and every time I would take a vacation, like I've been to the LA Zoo, I've been to all the zoos all around, because it's just getting research and gaining knowledge and trying to improve the lives of the elephants that I cared for at the zoo.
Sure.
And so eventually I actually borrowed money from my retirement at the zoo because, the zoo pays a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go to India, but I wanted to go to India. And so I met some people who had a place in India. So I borrowed money out of my retirement fund and spent a month in India. And then was in awe, in a bad way.
Okay.
Because we have these fantasies about, these elephants they're loved, they're cared for, it's amazing. And then you go there and you're like, what fucking planet am I on? This is crazy. So I spent time with this organization and I showed them things with the elephants. I said, okay, let's not hit them. Let's get some food. Let's be compassionate. How do we teach compassion? We'll get into that in a minute, but that's the $1 million question.
Compassion.
And the elephants are amazing. They always come through for you.
Yeah.
Give them a pile of dirt, they'll lay in the dirt, they'll dust. They do what they do. Like any animals. You give them the proper environment to be healthy and flourish. We step back and enjoy that.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole that's what changed my whole mindset. I always felt bad for the elephants at the zoo, but then you go to see the opposite end of the spectrum and you're like, wow, well, the zoo is kind of like Disneyland.
Yeah.
Compared to these elephants on 4-leg chains bleeding, getting hit every day, and all these other things that I witnessed and continue to witness, unfortunately.
Their consciousness, I'm sure that's in just, I grew up in Tampa, and so we had Busch Gardens. It was kind of like right when I went to school.
Sure.
there, and they would have elephants, and that was really my only experience.
Sure.
Would be in the little thing kind of next to them, but. There's unlike any other sort of animal, and I think even humans almost like there's something when you look an elephant in the eye that just does not.
If humans were better beings,
yeah,
they'd be elephants.
yeah.
I concur.
I mean, honest to God, I mean, they're too good of a species, and we frankly don't deserve them, and we sure as hell don't deserve to be treating them the way we do.
No, they're almost like your like spiritual like grandmother. Like there's this like very
There's an
aura about them where I just want to like bow my head and just sit. Like, I mean, literally my favorite thing to do. I mean, I can watch many different species all day, but there's something about like sitting at the watering hole. Like you literally have to like pull me away from watching elephants. I can sit there all day long and watch elephants. They're one of my favorite species. They're one of my favorite soul animals. There's just, there's something about them. And for me to even picture someone being able to cause harm towards this soulful, spiritual, grandmother, indigenous type vibe animal that just brings so much like respect. And I mean, they literally are like foresting the planet all day. I mean, they have such an important role.
Keystone species.
They're a keystone species. And,
For dummies like me, what's a keystone species? Yeah.
They
tell us, Steve.
They basically support the ecosystem that they're in.
Right.
Okay. Got
So
it.
like everything from their poop, dung beetles rolled up, they disperse seeds. Elephants only absorb about 40% of the food they eat. So when they go to the bathroom,
the rest of it is used by everybody else.
Exactly.
And they only eat the best of the plants. So, you're getting just constant like reforestation activity with
that.
elephants.
Okay.
uprooting trees.
Yeah.
Other animals eat the trees, they uproot, they do different things.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the sharks of the ocean.
Yeah.
We need sharks. Sharks are a huge indicator species of biodiversity and of health of the ocean.
Yeah.
So we in like biology and zoology, we use these key indicator species to sort of assess the health of an environment. So
you from India, take me. So was that really the impetus?
So I was all, I always had a loud mouth, and I always was outspoken at the zoo.
That's why we like each other.
On behalf of the elephants. It wasn't like the zoo's terrible. Fuck the zoo.
Yeah.
It was like we can do more. Let's be better. We need to be better. I'm spending time in different zoos in Southeast Asia right now, doing the same, having the same talks. Like this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
This is not what an elephant is. Can we at least chain them instead of 4 chains? Can we just chain them on one chain to a tree over there instead of this concrete box that they're in?
Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't even know what I was talking about.
India.
So India, I was like, wow, this is crazy. So then I went back to the zoo, and we were talking about expanding the facility, and it was always like some little nickel and dime. It was. I said, why can't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we have the orangutans climb across, above the elephants? And why we're better than this? Why can't we just do these things? So I fight, and I continued to go to India like once a year, and then I went like every 6 months for a couple of times, and then the zoo fired me. Not because I went to India, but because of my outspokenness. If I, and I'm okay with it because my intention was never to hurt the zoo or sabotage the zoo. It was to fight for the elephants, and that was the decision that the zoo made, which is where Elephant Care Unchained comes from. I'm unchained to help the elephants.
Hey.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, it's unchaining elephants, but in Southeast Asia, that's not always an option because you have to build these things for these animals. It's just different ways to do things. And so being free from the zoo now, because I knew I would never leave the elephants at the zoo. Because they're, I love them to death. I mean, only one is still alive. And they inspired me. And I was never going to leave. I remember, raking the poop up in the yard every morning. I said, those elephants in India, God, it's terrible. And these other places, it's so bad. I don't know. I mean, you guys are good here. You guys are doing good with the elephants here. I don't know. And one of my coworkers, my good friend, she says, well, could you ever leave them? Talking about the elephant. And I says, no. So the zoo made the decision for me, which allowed me now to be in 8 different countries, to continue to have conversations as my phone is blowing up now, talk to, to Indonesia or Vietnam or things I would never have done. So now I have a huge opportunity because of those elephants at the zoo.
And I would imagine because of your sort of pedigree at that point, that's why the other zoos and the other sort of sanctuaries and places around the world probably. How did you get such a network so fast?
Well, I think integrity is number one, and I think work is number two. Well, work is probably one, and then integrity is second. My work kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good resume, if you will. So when I go to places, they have no idea who I am, what I'm talking about, think I'm full of shit. What does Whitey from the West know about elephants? They don't even have elephants. What is he, a zookeeper? They don't even have elephants in their country. Blah, blah,
We got to
blah,
work
blah,
on
blah.
that branding, though. The Whitey from the West.
Whitey from the West. It's just you know,
workshop that a little better, I think.
but this is as I speak. But this is what they feel, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, that's okay. I get it. I don't. And if you ever notice, I never publicly criticize on social media. I never say blah blah blah, because you have to work with these cultures, you know.
Sure.
Right? And so you have to convince them that you number one, you know what you're talking about. So I walk around with my little tablet and I'll say, how about this? What about this? What about this? And they don't really even still get it at that point. And so you constantly have to try to fight. And I have people in different countries that will contact me and say, hey, let's go here, let's go here. You know, unfortunately, the government is involved in a lot of these countries and a lot of these places. So
Our government, or you mean the local governments? The local
the
governments.
countries. The native governments.
What's your biggest
involved.
challenge right now, country-wise? Country.
There's so many. Every country's different. You can't say it's this or that. But for me, the biggest challenge is simply getting access to the elephants. Because my only intention is to help the elephant. It's not my fight to say remove the elephant from the temple in Sri Lanka or India. It's a whole nother, because that's me criticizing religion now. Now we got a whole nother obstacle to come across.
Sure.
Has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's going to a camp somewhere in Thailand, or going to a camp in India, or going to a camp in Vietnam, and just wanting to help.
Yeah.
But they always think there's some sort of angle. I don't ask
Right.
them for money. That's why I have to get donations.
Right.
Because if I ask them for money, what is this? This guy's just trying to.
Oh yeah,
just-
you're never gonna get
Sure.
He's
money.
used-
No.
Sure.
I've
Then
actually-
you really are Whitey from the West.
Exactly. I've actually been to places and spent my own money to, buy enrichment things and things like these, and, buy things to help the elephants, and then would talk about it on social media, and then they would say, this guy's using our elephants to make money. Even though I paid the money to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And you're
No,
just
that's
like,
how it
what?
is.
It's so many stories.
Yeah, when you're coming-
When
I
we
mean-
can pick a country, we can go into any rabbit hole we would like. But there's just so much to do. For me, I just want to help.
Yeah.
I just want to help.
I mean, something that I think of too is, we just had legislation passed in Ojai, California, where elephants are now given personhood.
Shout out to Ojai.
Yeah, Ojai
level.
is so next level.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I got to go visit there, and there is such a next level vibe about it that I love. But on the legislation part, I mean, what is your, involvement or take on assisting on the government side of changing the laws in these countries?
Well, I put whatever I'm allowed to do, I do. Like, I'm literally having conversations with India and Indonesia. Indonesia's kind of hot right now. But as far as, I'm going to contact the government, the forest departments, and I'm going to send them a letter from my observations of a place and say, this is unacceptable. You're better than this. I would like to help you make their elephants' lives better, without publicly shaming them, because
Right.
that's a huge thing. In India, me and my Indian brother, we took our whole road trip around this entire state. I don't want to be too specific, and we saw all the elephants in that entire state.
Of the state inside India.
Inside India,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
inside India.
I thought you were going to say the state of India.
A particular
the entire-
state. Going into
big.
temples, trying to find elephants.
Yeah.
Not there's the elephants over there. It's not there. Waiting days, trying to find. They're all moved secretly, illegally,
Yep.
but nobody follows up. Nobody knows. And so what we did, we went there. With donated money, we took these road trips. We drove all around in his personal vehicle. We drove and submitted a 10-page report about all the elephants and our recommendations of what should happen with all these elephants that are in these temples and these different places, which is looking like Indonesia's going to be the same thing. So I did my part, and it's another funny thing is that we say, you have white of way. in a sense. But
there is some advantages.
If I'm sitting in a office in another country, I'm going to get a little bit more time. I'm not by myself,
Absolutely.
granted, but there's going to be some more attention as to why is this guy here, as opposed to they might just step over my buddy who spent hours, days. Both of my guy in Indonesia, same thing.
A friend of mine made a point to me one day, and it really hit me. He said he's a Nigerian man, and we've worked together on some poverty issues in throughout Africa. And he said to me, he's like, Asia, he's like, you're just white enough for Africa, but you're not black enough for America. No, for America.
Right.
And it was like, and it hit me to my core. And he's so
big.
right,
Yeah,
because I am able to move around Africa as a continent. I always hate when I say Africa, because I want everyone to know that it is a continent with many countries in it.
Sure.
But I work in too many countries to reference all of them in one sentence. So Africa is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, it does give you this edge. I mean, people will listen.
It gives you a second look.
It gives you a second look. I've been able to get in the room. I've been able to get in conversations that a lot of my team, my sisters and brothers in Africa are not able to do. But then you come here and you try to talk about, racism issues and things, and then you're not enough to be in the, and it was just so, it was so interesting. Yeah. But it's also why I'm literally busting my butt to get a PhD, because as much as I know, when you have a doctorate and you're moving around in developing countries, not only do you get a second look, you get a first look. And then on top of that, you get to actually make some things happen. I'm doing my best so that I can travel around with this doctor title.
When you go there, you say, no, let me show you what is possible, and you have all of your experience.
Yes.
So that they're like, okay, that is, as opposed to just waving your finger at them.
Right.
Right. I don't have a veterinary degree, but I teach a lot of vets foot care.
Same.
I teach a lot of vets how to take care of elephants' feet. It started at the zoo. We had an elephant there who had a kind of a deformity. Her feet kind of grew inward, so she developed abscesses on her feet because they didn't move normally, naturally. So they had abnormal pressure. So when I say elephant foot abscess, to simplify the term for everybody listening, it's basically a bruise that forms inside the foot from abnormal pressure. And so that pressure builds up over time and then ruptures. And when that rupture, and we're talking 20, 30 years of this being chained on concrete. So it's kind of like if you go like this to your nail.
Yeah.
Well, if you keep doing this to your nail, well, what happens? Well, that's going to bruise, right? And then the nail's going to fall off. Then it's going to go into your bone, and then you got all kinds of issues, right?
Yeah.
Osteomyelitis is what we call it with elephants. So the idea is what you want to do is you kind of want to do something like that. So it's still vascular. So you take the pressure off the nails. It's a whole thing behind it. But basically, elephants that are kept in terrible environments over many, many, many years, living life as a slave, suffer. After about age 25, 30, like us, the body starts to break down. So every terrible place that they've been in or continue to be in starts to show signs. So I can go and look at elephant feet and say, that elephant lays down on the concrete every night, mostly on the left side, blah, 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 blah. Or, those abscesses form because she's chained and she can't move, so she's swaying, so constantly going like this for years. Right? Wow.
And it's interesting because, sometimes you have to flip the discourse of the conversation to something like, I was dealing with a situation in Botswana with the herd dogs. And they were so mistreated, so abused, so thin, not being fed, but then they were expected to go out every day and fight the lions and hyenas off. And I knew that I wasn't going to get them to care about the dogs, but if I could get them to care about keeping their pack of dogs alive so that they can keep their cattle alive and they don't have as many kills, then you can start to have a conversation. So it's the same with that, in this situation with the elephants. I feel like if you can get them to understand that you're going to, we don't care. If you take better care of these animals' feet, then you're going to get more years out of them, which is not what we ever want. We want them free in the jungle doing what they want want to do. But sometimes you have to come to this middle ground where you're like, at least I can make their life better for the next 10 years while they are a slave, stuck in this captivity situation. But you have to know that, and you have to be able to talk that language and lingo to the people that you're working with, because you have to understand that not everyone has the same heart, not everyone has the same intentions for these animals. So
what is this if they're in captivity, what is it for? Because I know, as somebody, again, kind of really being on the outside, and shout out to my friend Dennis, because he lives in Thailand and spends a lot of time at the elephant sanctuaries there and stuff like that.
Sure.
And he's obsessed with, but the tusk issue was the thing, right? It was like
that's
that.
not. That's more Africans.
Okay.
That's Africa.
That's poaching.
Okay.
So
on the slavery side of things, or why you would hold on,
why you would have an elephant in slavery?
Yeah, quote unquote.
Well, again, we pick a country, we can have the arguments.
It's different.
Thailand, we just mentioned Thailand. That's all tourism stuff. All those elephants used to be basically logging, working elephants. Then they banned logging, and people had their elephants, and now what do you do with them? So now they're painting pictures, riding tricycles, getting hugs and kisses from people, doing all the things.
Exploitive tourism is one of the biggest issues we face in wildlife across the planet right now.
Okay. Oh, fair question.
It's okay.
I think it's amazing that there's hold on. If an elephant paints something and then they sell the paintings to help for the sanctuary, as somebody who doesn't know, it looks on the surface like, oh, hey, wow, this is really cool.
It looks cute. Yeah,
it looks cute.
And you're giving money that's supposed to help
But I have a
them.
nail in my hand right here. I'm coaching you and telling you how to paint that picture.
Okay.
A lot of these are forced behaviors. So what you're not seeing, because we've got so many different tourism avenues for elephants, which you can talk about this, but this is my thing, is this voluntourism, all of these exploitive ways that these countries are bringing in money for tourism by, appealing to people being able to hug and take a photo with an animal. This is something that is happening.
Tiger is disgusting.
Tigers, the tigers are literally drugged and then they're sold off for canned hunting after. These are major issues, but I'm glad we're bringing this up because this is how you can help. This is how, when you are someone sitting at home in Los Angeles, in Ohio, and you're making travel plans and you're deciding to go to these countries, you can opt out of these exploitive touristic attractions.
Change the demand.
The shift in the demand would allow these animals to be retired, would allow them to at least have an attempt at a sanctuary. We're not going to have a sanctuary for all of the animals, but it's a step in the right direction. But if the demand changes, we're not going to be putting new elephants into, sitting on their backs for a ride, doing photos, because they're dealing with cow hooks and prods and all kinds of horrible training methods. The babies, I won't even go into that.
So there is there a place where it almost is like, where the question of dogs. We all love dogs, but there's kind of a relationship. There's a symbiotic relationship, right? It's like it's just dogs are unconditional love, but at the same time, we've domesticated them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the natural part of them would be, hey, let me take off and go to Griffith Park. Right? That would be that's where my dog would want to go.
That's correct.
Exactly.
So, is there a world though where there's a happy medium and this actually does function correctly, or just nowhere? Just don't do it anywhere. Don't do it at Busch Gardens. Don't do it in Thailand.
Okay, I'll let you answer, but then I'm going to go on a rant.
Well, the thing is, with the elephant wise, I've always told people two things. One, put yourself in the animal's place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you want 30 people, hugging, kissing you, scrubbing you down
that's
3 or
an
4
easy
times
argument.
a day?
Right, yeah, right.
The answer would be no, right? This is the question I pose to all these places that I visit. And I say, look at this. If you were an elephant, would you want to live here?
Yeah.
And every one of them tells me no. I said, then what are we doing? We're better than this.
Sure.
Right?
We are.
Sure.
And so what I tell people, I said, you change the demand.
Yeah.
So I don't tell people to boycott the elephant riding places. I say, you want to go. But you give them $20 and you say, no, I just want to walk with the elephant. Because those elephants need food. They need care. They need money coming in the door.
That's what I was going to say.
Or they're just going to sit back and whittle away. The people who own the elephants are business people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They just want money. They don't give a shit.
Right.
They don't give a shit about,
Right.
If the elephant can walk, okay, we're gonna walk it till the wheels fall off.
Yep.
Basically, and that's what happens. So you change the demand.
Yeah.
I don't think boycotting is the answer. you change the demand.
Yeah.
But the problem is so many other, I mean, there's Westerners also, but a lot of the natives still support these things. So if I go to an elephant show in another country, it's packed with
wow.
natives.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing, guys? So how do you have that discussion?
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you make whatever this is for the elephant better, or whatever this is for the animal better, and then you work on the outside influence to change
of the demand.
to change
Yeah.
the culture.
And you can shift these things, right? Like
Exactly.
we've seen circuses shift away from, they're getting the same, if not more, of an audience without the animals.
yeah.
We look at situations, because I worked in circus, law for such a long time and trying to get these elephants out of Ringling. We were so, knee deep in it that you got to see every day, you got to see the changes. But what I loved about that as an example is that Cirque du Soleil came about. And we see how famous, and those shows are jam-packed. We're seeing circuses
Are they bad?
transforming.
Are circuses
No,
bad?
these are all human-based circuses.
I'll give you an example.
Give people a good show,
Because
they're
I think-
going to go.
And
Yeah.
I
You
think
don't
part
need
of
to
the
exploit an
presentation
elephant.
Is part of the presentation that on the Cirque du Soleil stuff that I've been to is they're professing off the bat. The disclaimer is we're putting a lot of this money into trying to make the situation better. So presumably, I'm not being lied to there, but
Well,
yeah.
you are being lied to when they say we're taking
And
money.
and
we're taking
also,
money.
and
Well,
can we
that's-
talk about all the lies that Ringling said about putting all of the elephants into retirement at a sanctuary?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there, but I will go there.
There's all kinds of things, but to give you an example, just,
Give me some hope.
Just to bring it back, there's in Sri Lanka they have this festival. It's called a Parahera. And it's an amazing thing. It's beautiful. They get people dancing, drums, fire, amazing. And then they spoil it with these elephants that are lit up, walking. Real life elephants, spoiled and ruined. This amazing experience that's not even necessary
No.
to do it, right? But how do you tell somebody that their entire family, that's all they've ever known? The Parahera has to have elephants. Da, da, da. So now we're going to robotic elephants is the kind of the new trend now, which is happening. So hopefully that'll grab hold and because India is starting to put more and more robotic elephants out there. But they spoil these amazing things by putting these animals in. And it doesn't have to be elephants; it could be anything.
No, and now, on the zoo side, looking at the capabilities of virtual reality, you can create an entire immersive experience.
It's an amazing thing, yeah.
where you're
yeah.
in the jungle with the elephants, getting the experience
Yeah.
that you want. Because I think, this goes back to like my doctoral work. I think that, we have this, to our core, we want to be connected to nature, right? And somebody going to take a photo with an elephant, they're not thinking, oh, I want to exploit this elephant and hurt this elephant.
Elephants are human magnets.
They're a magnet.
Yeah, sure.
We,
So
exactly. They're big,
we
giant gray
crave
magnets.
it, just like our, circadian rhythm and being grounded, and like we are supposed to be in nature. We're supposed to be connected with animals and plants, and it is in our core. But what we're doing wrong is we're going about it in the wrong ways.
Correct.
We're going about it in a way that's exploitive, taking away from the experience of this other being, right? To self-serve ourselves.
Right.
But there are ways around that. And supporting sanctuaries is a great way to get around that, but you really have to do your research.
Sure.
What I would tell people is if you are traveling, and you can, add to this, but if you're looking for a place that you can go and see elephants, I had an experience. I wanted to go check out Shildrick Wildlife. They are an elephant orphanage in Kenya. They have 1 hour a day that people are allowed to view the elephants. 1 hour a day. You're not going inside and taking photos with the elephants in their pen, and these animals have, a free range. They don't have to come if they don't want to, but they're coming and they're doing a mud bath. It's a fun experience for the elephants. It's like their party time. They get to socialize with all the other groups of babies.
Plus, their
and
skin looks great. at the end of
yeah,
it,
they're
so,
doing their
yeah.
mud bath in. They're getting
Yeah.
extra snacks, all the bottles.
Yeah.
They've created a positive experience for the elephants. But then they go off and do their thing. If you find a sanctuary where all day long you can find a time slot from like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., there is a time slot for you to take a photo opportunity, to go pet an elephant, to go stand with an elephant, give them a bath. It's probably not the sanctuary that you want to be going to. You want sanctuaries that have minimal human interaction time, because then that to me says, oh, they're taking into account that these animals aren't exploited all day.
But yes, 100%. The only issue is that people don't care. People want their experience. I've given talks to people, and they still go to Thailand and ride an elephant.
I have gotten into arguments.
So I failed. I failed in not emphasizing those things enough. It's not. People love elephants, and we can't help. People love dogs. People they love dogs, but they still chain them up and they keep them in a shitty place, right?
Yes.
So it's just. So people love elephants. So we have to be better about having them look at it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's really changing the perspective, but I think it's,
but they want their experience, and that's the hard part. That's the hard part.
It is.
Because they love them. They don't mean anything bad by going and hugging and kissing. I want to just give my love to the elephant.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's all chained up.
Yeah.
You get or it's not chained up. You hug and kiss it, and
it goes back in,
and it goes around a corner, and it's on a chain this long for the next 18 hours a day. They don't know that. It's not their fault. So it's my fault in a sense. It's people who are out there, And so,
it's us that know. We have to educate more.
People want their experience.
Yeah.
We have to step back for a minute and think about the animals that we want our experience with.
Yes.
That's a great point. That's a great way. Before we let you go, that's a great way to think about it. What's next for you, and how can people help?
I am a official 501c3 nonprofit charity. So if people want to help the cause, help elephants all over the world, this is a never-ending. We're helping today for those elephants fighting for their tomorrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Elephant Care Unchained.
Yes.
.com.
.com. Yes, you guys can donate. Check out my YouTube channel. There's a lot of information there. Really, just spread the word and step back if you're out and about with any animal anywhere in this world. You step back and think about those animals. I think that would be a way to look at it.
Tell me about it. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you directly, what's the easiest way?
Email. You can go to my website, elephantcareunchained.com. Everything Elephant Care Unchained is me. So if there's a message on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, I'll respond.
And lastly, this is great. We'd love to keep checking up with you and everything. Mm-hmm. If you have like specific projects that you're working on and everything, would you keep us posted?
Aja is on my private email list, but there's
I'm very up to date.
But there's actually a little buy-in to that one because I share a lot of intimate, behind-the-scenes, not so nice videos of the journey.
Okay.
So if people want to be a part of that, then you might have to have a buy-in, just because I have to have a safe forum in order to share these things. Because if the things that I share go public, then it's kind of curtains for the work that we do, because you don't want any bad perception of what is actually going on, because if I say something bad, they'll say, we don't want you here anymore.
Can you do what we do here, which is we don't talk about until we've done it? Can you hit us up and be like, hey, yo, I just did this?
If you wish, like I said, Aja's on the list, and so if she sees something, she's like, this is amazing, can I talk about it?
I'm always on that list. I'm like,
what's
going on today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It never ends. So there's always a new challenge. There's always another elephant suffering, unfortunately. And until those stop, I won't.
Hey, I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, Steve Koyle. All the work you're doing,
Pleasure.
man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Join me, Sasha Peters, on Women in the Nude, Season 2, where we bear it all except for our bodies. Leave that to your imagination. My wish for women is that we strip away the fear of judgment and really embrace the full spectrum of who we are.
I don't know if you are coming to terms with being pregnant on the show.
Yeah, I think she was a little depressed. Let's live boldly and openly and change the narratives that define us.
I called my doctor. I'm like, I want to drive my car through a brick wall.
We deserve it, and there's no better time than now. Let's get out of our comfort zone and get down to the bottom of who we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I have known Stephen for quite some time through social media, and we have not gotten to meet in person, but yet I feel like we've been such good friends for all these years because of the work that he does. I mean, it's just fascinating. He's
got a
soul
vibe.
work.
Yeah, he's got a vibe, and having the vibe next to us, it was.
Yeah, and I love like the focus on the animal's feet. Like, it's just so important, and you don't really think about that when you think of like elephant care. And it was just an amazing interview. I mean, props to all the amazing work he's doing. I mean, we have his links and everything if anybody wants to help, but wow.
Amen.
Blown away.
Yeah, he's incredible.
So now I want to know, from a musician standpoint, have you ever had to purchase an instrument to get on a plane? A seat for an instrument to get on a plane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
We've paid, it's frustrating, and
I bet.
Yeah, and we stopped doing that after a while. On one level, it's like, Nolly and we all kind of hold on to certain instruments. There, we have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it just became such a pain in the ass, and it became sort of potluck. It was up to who was at the gate. And that's what's so cool about this story is because they even our instruments, I mean, it's tough if you have a $50,000 Les Paul or something like that, and I understand like Nolly brings it with him, brings it in a hard case. And, but then it takes up a good part of the thing. So if you show up late, sometimes they'll make you check it. And then at the gate, and so then you have to be there early and everything like that. And what's so interesting about this story, it brought me back because this is a $3.5 million 300-year-old cello, and they were like, and they bought a seat for it, and they still weren't allowed on the plane, and it just feels like, how much harder are you going to make it for us? And the airlines.
Though, like no one is sitting in that seat. Like they already bought the seat. So what is the dilemma, Air Canada? Like I need to know. And I feel like, like I deal with this stuff on the dog front all the time.
Yeah.
Like always somebody has a problem with something at the gate or, something with our cargo flights. But this was just interesting because I'm like, wow, even instruments can't get a break on a flight.
It's crazy. Hopefully I'm not killing this name, but he's a famed British cellist, Sheku Kenne Mason, and he had to cancel a sold-out show in Toronto.
Yeah,
and this is on Air Canada, right? And because he bought a seat for this incredible instrument, and yet still couldn't get it on. And apparently, it's still, even when they asked him afterwards, to comment on this, he was saying this is a common problem, even when you buy a seat. We bought stuff. We had, now a lot of times in Japan, what they'll do is they'll make you buy a seat for we won't have to buy it if you're going intercontinental because we'll check it at a certain point. The instruments check. And then you're crossing your fingers hoping it shows up.
That
because
it's there, yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't show up. But more importantly, when you're doing inner flying within Japan, so like if we're going from Tokyo to Osaka and having to fly or something like that, instead of taking the train, they make us buy seats for the instruments and stuff like that. So, but even when you buy a seat, you should be able to have it. Like if people buy seats for their dog, they should be able to have it. Speaking of which, I saw a guy with a pit bully on the bus this morning. And I was like, I don't care. I hope he didn't buy a seat for him, but because both of them were sitting there on the bus, I was like, that's cool. Did he have to pay for the dog's seat? I don't know. I digress. But if you've got really, really expensive instruments, that's the nerve-wracking thing of touring. It's just like you're constantly in a state of, I don't know, is this going to make it, or is it are they going to let me have it on the plane?
And not everybody can be flying around on private jets, even though that would be nice. But commercial airlines need to figure out a way to, especially if you're going to pay a whole seat.
Yeah. Because it's one thing.
Stick something there.
Yeah. There's a lot of times where we got on and they would count it as one of our carry-on. So shout out to when American was cool with us for a while. And there's a lot of airlines. There was a rule, but I think they've softened that up over the last couple of years because it's just gotten so bad, air travel with everything from just everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, facts.
So, facts. But, okay, and as promised and backed by popular demand, we bring another segment of Make This Ish Make Sense with our resident Gen Z expert, Asher Freidberg. Make this ish make sense, Asher! If we just say Stranger Things, Stranger Things, Stranger Things 3 times and click our heels, Asher will show up. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Ready? Stranger Things, Stranger Things, Stranger Things.
Oh,
I was at Blockbuster. I don't have to pay now.
Just sit down. Yeah.
You're at the checkout?
Yeah, I was at the register, about to go meet my guy.
Oh. Okay.
Nice.
Well, at least it's free now.
For those that don't know, that's code for drug deal. It's okay, though. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
We never know what this guy's into.
Okay, so I love this story. I love Muppets. I love everything about the psychotherapy. Tell me,
So there's this new trend going on TikTok. So I don't know if you guys are, obviously you've made clear you're familiar with the Muppets, but there was Pepe the King Prawn growing up. He was my favorite Muppet. He's a funny guy.
Loved him.
So yes, Pepe the King Prawn is a character in the Muppets.
Hey.
And there's this new meme going around. It's not even much of a meme, but more of a means of coping. So I'm not going to say this is a Gen Z thing. I think all generations in the past, I would say even 100, even 200 years, have had ways of coping through humor. You know, it's an easy way to say the things that are on our mind, but say just jokingly enough to where we don't have to set off alarms or, you know, make a whole moment really dark and sad, you know?
Sure.
So the new thing people are doing is there's this picture of Pepe the Prawn. There's this new picture of Pepe the Prawn going around, and I'm going to show it on the screen, and people are just dumping all their trauma, all of their worst stories on it. And what makes it just a little bit funnier is it's playing the Like a Prayer choir version from Deadpool and Wolverine. So it's got such a dramatic Madonna song playing in the background.
Chef's kiss.
While you hear these mortifying stories. So I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to share one with you right now.
All right.
So I'm going to do an abbreviated one because these are long.
Okay.
All right. So this is a story of Sowen. It was their first, it was 5 minutes in their first lecture, and they were going up on the stage to essentially introduce themselves and do 2 truths and a lie, something I know we're all very familiar with.
Sure. Only we have it better with two scams and a slap, but yeah, sure.
There was a spiral staircase that took them up to there, and as they were climbing, they couldn't essentially avoid being picked to answer a question. They were hiding. It was mandatory participation. They were zipping their bag, trying to leave. They're choosing a perfect moment to leave, and the professor switches off the lights. This is their chance, essentially. They've reached the top of the spiral staircase, texting their friend about how they'd rather fail than get up and say that they're 21, have a dog, and their dad invented the saxophone or some bullshit. The lights are out. They're about to leave. They fall down the spiral staircase.
Been there.
Yes. Essentially, then the professor yells, "Someone help that man, he's hurt himself." So every 200 person here, they are all looking at this person falling down the spiral staircase. A crowd of people gather around them. They see he's in so much pain, how mortified, and the soul leaving their body. The lights are all turned on. They want to take this person to the hospital. The person insists they're fine, they can carry them back to the car, and they actually carry them to the car. And they awkwardly lay them in the backseat of their own car, and when they get home, they immediately drop the class and change campuses.
Okay, I have a lot. Go, please, start. Please, I got a lot. I got a lot.
That was me abbreviating
I am like sweating right now.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
okay. You know what? I'm not even going to go into what I was going to say, but what I need everyone to do is just come follow me for one day of rescue.
Yeah, exactly.
If this
is traumatic.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't have enough words. Like, I don't even understand how anyone would read all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the time for it. I'm not a scroller anyways, but for me to scroll through 10 carousels to talk about a story like that, I don't, where's the humor? Help me.
No,
Help me.
It's not, and what I appreciate is that this is somebody's personal, like, trauma that they're putting out there in a long carousel. What I can appreciate is it's not traumatic. Where is the trauma on? And I don't want to sound insensitive.
No,
I really do not.
No.
But it's making me realize that trauma is on a spectrum.
It is on such a big spectrum.
It's on a spectrum because go with you one day in
Lord.
Skid Row downtown.
You want to see trauma
downtown
every 10
Los
seconds
Angeles?
of your
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
I mean,
And it's interesting though because I do love the forum of a Muppet and Madonna to try to put this kind of in context. And so in that respect, this is somebody's trauma, so respect
to their trauma.
Respect to your trauma, but yeah, on the spectrum.
They're not all going to be like deep trauma. Sometimes it's just like it's affected you. We've all had stories that aren't like we were in Vietnam or we were shot in the street. We don't all have those stories.
No,
luckily.
sure.
But things are going to affect people in different ways. For all we know, this affected this person positively. When I was like, well, I've gotten that out of the way.
Yeah,
I've
now you should be confident.
Staircase, but it's also a story worth telling. Like, look, I have a story, where like I was a kid, I was running to get the bus. I used to play the cello, and I ate it while running to the bus. The cello fell on my arm as I fell. I fractured my arm. Oh, I didn't get shot or anything, but that's
traumatic.
I was in front of all the buses. They're all watching me.
Yeah, that's character building. It's character building, and so you should put it over, the prawn and
I think
Madonna.
all of us should do one.
It's going to be a combination of things that are silly, and some things that are just weird, or it's going to be things that are actually dark.
Yeah.
It's about how you want to use this to express what's going on with you.
Yeah.
Or this is how I look like at the end of 2024, which is probably my favorite.
That's kind of how I'm feeling too.
I think that's the funniest part of it.
We should all be king
Yeah.
prawns just for the end of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and don't kink, king, prawn, shame. That's the lesson.
Don't king prawn
Don't
shame.
kink, king, prawn, shame. That's the lesson that
No
we've
one
learned here today. I feel like
Yes.
we've accomplished so much in this session.
This has been like a therapeutic
Yes, yes.
session for
I'm
everyone.
going to get Pepe Puppet to come in for the next episode.
That would be really
Perfect,
nice.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right, well, that's
Thanks,
going to do
Asher.
it for this week. Yes. Before we head out, make sure to comment, share. It's an easy thing. Please, just
Yeah,
subscribe.
read
Share it with your peoples. It's a simple agreement. We're providing this for you. So you could share it around. Share it around. Spread the love. So do all that. Or
you can always help out with fostering or adopting any of our wonderful rescues that we discuss on our Pause for Progress segment,
including Ted.
including Ted.
Right?
Yes.
That's it. My mission is to pimp Ted.
We got to
to a
pimp Ted
good
out.
home.
You guys are going to see his cute little face.
That's right. All right. Sonics.
Love.
Action.
Progress.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Slap the Power is a Slap Network production. It's written and produced by Rick Barriodil and Asia Nakia. Our senior producer is Bree Corey, audio and video editing by Asher Freidberg and Bree Corey, and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA and 360 Pod Studios. If you're into online power scrolling like we are, don't forget to follow Slap the Power on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and probably Pinterest soon for access to full episodes, bonus content, and more. And if you're as full of hot takes and crazy ideas as we are, please think about dropping us a review to help boost this episode, and you can help blow up the group chat by sharing with friends, family, or random shit posters on the internet you want in on the conversation. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, please email info@slapthepower.com.